Hello and welcome back to Gearhead Geeks, where in this video we're going to continue working on our KZ400. We're going to do some wiring, a little bit of frame cleanup, some painting, probably get started on the headlight, just finish up some pieces in there so that we will just be able to continue on. We also need to look at the tack and speedo a little bit and at least get them figured out where they belong. So let's get to it. So we're getting ready to work on this rear fender bracket. It's the inner fender I got off of eBay, and it is a KZ400, so the front mounts are all etched in stone basically. And then what I did is I had cut off this piece along with some tubing to put on the rear frame rail. And in doing so, I kept this, and the only thing I need to do is this thing needs to be cleaned up. It's rusty. I've been cleaning on it a little bit, but it's rusty, and I welded on a couple of extension plates here so that they can contact the frame and I can buzz that all in. So I'm going to clean this up and make it beautiful because it's going to be painted black and you're going to be able to see this part. And I don't know if you can see it, but it looks like the frame, I don't know how it got scraped. Somebody ground it off. I don't know what it is, but it is just terrible. It's just rough and it's terrible. So I'm going to clean this thing up. I'm going to make it beautiful, and we'll weld it on, and the rear inner fender will be all mounted. We actually get some extra mounting holes on this thing, which is nice. The battery box, I welded in the plate for it. The battery box is all mounted in nice and solid. So once this is in, we can really turn our attention to the headlight and the tack and speedo. So I'll get this cleaned up and we'll weld it in, and then we'll be ready to paint back here. Our taillight is all mounted. All of the pieces that we need in here are mounted. We just need to do a little grinding and make it prettier, but other than that, it's going to be great. So we have got our rear inner fender bracket welded on. It's all welded in place. I also welded in a bracket to come across here to hang our battery box on. I had it off to the side, but it fits better inside here, and it will allow me to service the battery with the seat off, and it worked out really, really well. It's nice and solid, and everything is good. So we've got to do some more grinding here to get everything ready, so we can paint this frame and move on to finishing up the wiring and the headlight and all the other stuff. So I'm going to go on ahead and start grinding on things. And I think I'll cover up some stuff anyway here. I'll just get a rag or two. Nasty old rag, and kind of cover things up so that all the grinding doesn't foul things up. It's not real bad anyway, but and I think I'll unhook the battery box. Grind on it. It was all just kind of sitting in there anyway. Oh, yeah. Now we got that looking a little better. This is nice. This is all done. Good. We're ready. We can do some paint. We've got everything ground off nicely here. It's all cleaned up. This is cleaned up, so everything sits nicely in here. This is nice and flat. This is nice and flat. All the didn't really need to do any grinding on the welds over here. Looking good. We can put some paint on this, and then we can start assembling the rest of the motorcycle. So to get ready for paint, I've taken some old rags and just covered up some places I want. I've got a little acetone on a paper towel here, and I'm just going to wipe down some of the stuff here so that the paint will stick. Now the paint I'm going to use is this Rust-Oleum automotive paint, automotive enamel. I can get it in the frame. And it says that it can go over bare metal or primed, whatever one. So it's Rust-Oleum has the automotive paint seems to be really good stuff. The other stuff that you normally use on outdoor furniture and whatnot, that's maybe not so nice. It doesn't go down real well, but the automotive paint seems to do fairly well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wipe down all these surfaces. Now a lot of this stuff was just in really bad shape before because whoever, when they had it, they decided that they were going to paint everything black. And that black paint has been the bane of my existence here. We've got some paint. Let's get around the shock tower going. Or the shock mount, excuse me. Shake it up fairly well. Try not to make a mess is the idea here. I'll get this going. The idea here is not to paint anything we don't want to paint. Not bad. Then we'll take this and we'll smooth these guys around a little bit. Get this in here. You don't want to get carried away. What we want to do is get a kind of a light coat first. We got some color on it. And then we'll come back with a thicker coat once this sets up a little bit. And just using this piece to mask off a little bit so we don't make a mess. Not bad, looking pretty good. So this will dry. Once this dries, we can go in and do some more touch up on it and hit any spots we missed, but it's basically done. Well, it's come down to my favorite part of building motorcycles is wiring and electronics. It is, to me, it's challenging, but it also very, very rewarding, and it's actually kind of simple as far as how things work. What you have to do is realize what your objective is, and then you can go on ahead and figure out how the device works and then wire it in. So to start things off, you need to have the right connectors. you can wire things together with solder things and butt connectors and whatnot. But if you're going to a motorcycle, especially a motorcycle that has an existing wiring harness, you don't want to go chopping off things if you can help it. Like this, let me move the camera in here and let me show you. And we'll just get as close as we can here. See if I can get out of the way. Can we see that? No, we can't. Let me move it around. Ah, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to move it down a little bit. Okay. So now we have an existing wiring harness right here, and this is for the taillight. Taillight and turn signals. In the Kawasaki world, we have 5 wires in here. Red is our stoplight, black is ground, green is our left turn signal, gray is our right turn signal, and blue is our taillight. I'm pretty sure the stop and taillight that's correct. So what we want to do is we want to use this existing plug, but we've also got, let's see if I can move this around to where you can see it. We've also got our taillight. So it has a bunch of wires coming out of it. There's actually no documentation because it's a very cheap taillight, but it works well. So what we have to do is we have to establish what goes to what on this, and then we can get it all to work. So there's a couple of ways to do that. You can jumper wires in, or you can use something like this called a power probe. Now this one is kind of a extra fancy one, but Harbor Freight sells a power probe, and it's made by Power Probe. And that's actually the easiest and nicest to use. What's nice about the Power Probe, though, is you can inject a positive, or you can inject a ground. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. This has got some extra screen action going on with it. I'll hook it up here and get it turned on so you can see. And when you want to add power, you can, it'll add 12 volts that we have there, or you can add ground. And you can see the lights change doing that. So that's one way to do it. So what we're going to do here is, now that we're kind of looking at it, we got the power probe all hooked up, let's figure out what this taillight does. Okay, and I'm going to move this around so we can see not only the taillight, but the wires that I'm working on. I think that'll just about do it. So, what the first thing you did is, we're going to make an assumption on this. And we're going to assume that the black wire is ground. And that's usually a pretty safe assumption. So I've taken this and I've hooked this to a jumper lead. And it's the black wire going to the negative side of the battery. So now what we want to do is we want to figure out what wires go where. So looking at our taillight, let's start with the red wire, and we are going to inject 12 volts into this and see what it does. Okay, and what it did, that is our brake light. Red is brake. Okay, and that corresponds to Kawasaki. That's pretty cool. Okay, let's see what green does. Green is our tail light. Okay, yellow is our right turn signal, and that leaves brown as our left turn signal. Yep. Okay, so we now know that we have left, right, tail, and stop, and our ground is good. Now we've established that what these are. So we know that the tail light works, but we still have to make a plug. We talked about this plug. We don't want to be cutting off the harness. So what we can do here is, I'm going to move the camera around. onto the bench. Let's see if we can get a good view here. We've got a automotive electrical wire kit, and it has the types of connectors we need. I mean, I looked through this and I purposely got this, but this is the type of connector that we have on there. So I've already pulled one out, and it's somewhere. Well, maybe I need to pull it out. Oh, here it is. I've already pulled one out, and it fits onto our plug, and we don't need to figure out where they go quite yet, because once we'll plug this in and then we'll plug the wires in. The other thing you need is, here's where the biggest mistakes are made. These crimpers, what they do in this particular type is they fold over these little tabs that you see on these connectors. And if you look real close, there's little tabs. And those tabs get folded over and curled in. When you look at the factory connectors, that's what they do. So this tool, which is, I got lucky and found it on Amazon, and this is a YEFYM SN58B. And this is a really, really good connector. I've found that it crimps very, very well. It's got a lot of different sizes in it, and it's inexpensive. I mean, it's probably like $10, and it works extremely well. So the other thing that I did is I went to my old wiring harness collection and just found the same colors that you would find on the Kawasaki, and just snipped off some ends. No big deal. So what we want to do here is we want to put connectors on both ends. One side is going to have this flat blade which goes into this connector. The other side has female blades, and this is a female connector. In all these connectors, you have a female connector and male pins. And this is a male flat blade pin. So to make this work, what you do is inside of this, there's two stages. There's a big side and a small side. The big side is what's going to end up wrapping around the insulation, and then the small side is what actually wraps around the wire. So in this case, our wire is, we're going to use the 2.0. That should do the trick. So you put the big side toward that, you bring it up to the front, and then you just kind of get it started. And once it's started, you can then insert the wire. Let's see if I can do this for the camera. Kind of off to the side, but that's okay. We're going to insert this in here until the wire is protruding into the small side, and then all you do is squeeze. Get it right, and you give it a squeeze. Pop it out, and now get it out of the holder. You can see that our connector, and I miss it, hopefully I can get you to see it, is curled over exactly like the factory is. It's curled over on the insulation, and it's curled over on the wire. And it is not going anywhere. I am putting a ton of pressure on that, and it's not going anywhere. So what we're going to do is I'll go through all of these wires, strip them, put the connectors on it. Well, let's just finish this guy. So this side here is got the connector we need for this guy, but we also need to hook this to the taillight. So this kit actually came with the right connectors, these bullet connectors. So we'll just do this. Now, what we'll do with the bullet connectors, though, is in the kit there are insulators. So we'll put an insulator on first, and then we're going to take our strippers, and I've got these are just some strippers that will do the job, and we strip off about 3/16 of an inch. Okay, and then we take this and we put this in our tool, and we're going to move this to the 1.0. This is a little bit bigger connector, and if we have to, we can squeeze it down some more. We'll put it in, give it a squeeze, make sure that it's okay, and if it's not, but again, if you look, you're going to see that it is just a perfect connection. And now we have our wire. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to all the rest of these guys, and we'll go ahead, go to the bike, get it connected up, and then hook it up to the taillight, and we'll see how we did. Okay, now we always test, make sure that our connection is good. Give it a really good pull. Don't let it be fragile. So now what we've got is all of our connectors are done both ends. So now what we need to do is we need to match this up to our bike. So we're going to move the camera back around. Okay. And we have see if we can see our connector here. It's a little hard to get a close-up. But what we're going to do here is we're going to take this connector. I guess I can disconnect this. We'll take this connector, plug it in, and then we're going to match the colors up on both sides. So starting with the red, now these connectors only go in the one way, and they will go in, it's kind of hard to show you, but if you try to put it in wrong, it won't go. But our red is in this corner over here. So we're just going to take this guy, we're going to pop it in and get him clicked into place. Okay, so he's clicked into place, and he now makes a connection with that. And not really clicking in there well, so we just need to bend. There's a little tang on here. Let me see if I can get this where you can see it. A little tang. I just bent it out a little bit to make it so that it goes. Okay, again, we're going to double check where we are. Put this in and click it in. And now it's solid in there. I'll bend all those tangs when we... And there's a little adjusting that needs to go along until it gets straight, and now it's in there perfectly. Good. Okay, so the next one, let's do the black. Okay, let's see where our black wire is on this. Our black wire is right next door. So we'll bend the tang to make sure that it clicks in hard. And he's right next door. Boom, done. Okay, so now our next one, let's do the blue. And our blue one is right above the red. So we'll bend the tang out. Right above the red. Boom, done. Next one is green, and that's right opposite the blue. We'll bend the tang out, place it in there. Whoops, get in the right one. Okay, and lastly is our black. Whoops, no. Lastly is our gray, and it is right above the blue wire. Again, bend our tang, and right above the blue. Okay, and now I need to get a little screwdriver and straighten out all these pins. Make sure they all are aiming in the right direction here. I don't know if you can see, but all the pins, if I get that, are all aiming in the right direction. And I should be able to just plug this guy in. And we have one that's, sometimes it takes a little bit of finagling to get these pins straightened up, especially when I bent those tangs. But they'll go in. There it goes. Okay, perfectly in there. Everybody's straight, and away it goes. So now, the only thing really left to do here is, we know that red goes to red in this world, and we know that black will go to black and yellow. Okay, and we decided that I'm not sure, let's just check it again, and we'll just do it as we go along. Okay. And we said that our right turn signal, which I believe is yellow, check. Oops, I guess we could use a ground, huh? Well, we just ground this guy. Got ground. Okay. And I believe our right turn signal is yellow. Yes. Right turn signal is yellow, and on Kawasaki wiring codes, gray is right turn signal. Left turn signal, we believe, is brown, so we'll check that again. Yep. And that's green in the Kawasaki world. And that only leaves our taillight, which is blue. And that hooks to the green one on our taillight. So it's ready to go. And once we we'll do a final test on that once we get the battery all hooked up and everything else. But this is done. We'll probably put some sort of harness around here. We could use some harnessing tape. Probably that's all we're going to use. And then this will be a nice harness. And our taillight is wired in nicely. It is not kludged. It looks good. And it's going to work. Okay, so now that we've wired in our taillight, let's give it a good test. I've gone on ahead and hooked up the battery, just hooked it up into the wiring harness and plugged in the ignition switch and the turn signal switch. I have also put in a LED flasher in this, just took out the original mechanical flasher and put in an electronic one. And it's a little cheap one you get off of Amazon for almost nothing. And so let's give it a test. So let's move the camera so we can see our tail light. All right. So now we'll turn on the key and we should have a tail light, which we do. Okay. We'll press on the brake. And we have a brake light. And now what we're going to do is we're going to hit the right turn signal. And it flashes away. We'll hit the left turn signal. And away it's going. So our taillight is wired in. It's all tucked away nicely. Maybe a couple little ties here and there to get things situated, but other than that, it is done. Our wiring harness is basically hooked up, and we will continue on to the headlight here. So we've got this headlight bucket that I got off of AliExpress, and it's got an LED headlight in it. So I guess the thing to do here is we have to make some decisions here. I've got these headlight brackets that came with it. I bought it as a whole kit. And when I put it up here, if you can see, it's a little hard to see on the camera, but it's a little far away from me. I want it closer. I want this headlight in closer. So the next hole is good, but it's not designed to hold on to the headlight. So I'm going to have to modify these brackets so that the hole moves to this one. So we'll just make this an 8mm hole and cut all of this off, and then the bracket will be fine. So that'll be the next thing. And I've got temporarily put the tack and speedo up to see what's going on. The bracket needs to be modified some more. It's too close to the handlebars and the speedo is hitting it. The speedo used to be in the middle, and I moved everything over. And when I finally bolted it up and finally see what's going on, this casing is just touching, and I need to work on this case, and then I can lean it back a little bit further. It's also got some other issues here. There's a short inside here that's shorting the turn signal indicators together. The two wires are going through. It must have a diode or something in there. I'm not sure what's going on with it. So that needs to be repaired. But we could go on ahead and take a quick look at our headlight. So I'm going to go find some wires for it. We'll hook it up and see if we can get the turn signals and everything working. Okay, so I've gone on ahead and hooked up our power probe to our battery. And now we need to find out what is going on with the headlight. We can then figure out how to wire this thing in. So what we want to do here is we're going to inject power into the green wire, and let's see what happens. So we get a left turn signal on green. Okay, let's hit the blue wire. We get a right turn signal. So green is left, blue is right, and the red wire should be some sort of running light, and that's running lights. So if you have just no headlights going on and you just want to have running lights, that's just what you would use. Okay, so with everything hooked up, so we should have, we'll turn on our key. Okay, and now we have a low beam. Excuse me, that's the low beam. And here comes the high beam. Yep. So I'm going to switch on the high. A little strange. The bottom light comes on. It's just a little strange, but that works. So all that we need to do is, again, we have our right turn signal is green, our left turn signal is green, and our right turn signal is blue. Okay, so let's hook those up to our flasher. And gray is right, so that's going to go to green. So let's take our gray wire, and we will hook it to green. Okay, and then we'll take our green wire, which is left in the Kawasaki world, get this to hook in there. A little crusty is what it is. Okay, I guess that's in. And we'll hook that to the blue. Okay, so now with our key on, we should be able to hit the turn signal switch. Oops. Let's get those right here. I think this guy really isn't getting a good connection here. Let's see if I can get it a little bit. Oh, I see. Let's see if we can get that to connect. Okay, so here we go. Right turn signal. No. This thing. Oh, great. Here we go. We got to get this guy just to. There we go. There's our right turn signal. Now we'll get our left turn signal. Perfect. So we now have at least the thing wired up, so it'll run. We know how to do that. We're going to have to make, these wires are pretty cheesy on this headlight, so I'm going to make some good connectors that will hook into our turn signals and the daylight running lights. I don't know what to do quite yet with the daylight running lights because we the problem is that the lights are on this all the time. You can't turn it. You really can't turn them off. So what I'm probably going to do is just turn on the daylight running lights all the time. We'll just let them be on, and let's see if we can. Let's do that and see what happens when we use the turn signals. I think. Okay. So here comes our daylight running lights, and we'll turn on turn signal to the right. And it doesn't want to flash. We turn to the left. Yeah. There's something goofy going on in there. That's all right. We've got everything we need. So that worked well. Our wiring is coming together. We'll get the tack and speedo light fixed up a little bit. Then we got to wire in its stuff. And again, there's no paperwork on it, so we're going to have to figure out what it is. Where it's obvious that red and black are going to be power and ground. And then one of these is going to be for the lights. And the other one's going to be the signal going in. So I have to be real careful. I got to try and find some sort of paperwork on it. So, because I don't want to just start injecting signals into this. And you just don't want to go doing that. It's not a good thing. You could blow something up. We just don't need to do that for no particular reason. But so far so good. We've got some wiring. So for the time being, I've gone ahead and I trimmed off these brackets, which were longer, and I welded in a washer. So this now is an 8mm hole, and that makes things a little bit nicer. They still need a little cleaning up and a bit of adjusting, but we've got a good spacing here for the headlight. It should work out fairly well. We'll hook up the headlight and just get it basically in place. There's still some more wires that need to go into place, but we should be able to get our turn signals all put in. I made a little harness for the headlight turn signals. So they just got the spade connectors, goes to our regular Kawasaki connectors, and it will be basically done. I've also gone on ahead and did a little bit of welding and trimming and got the gauges where they need to be. They are now nicely rubber mounted. The tack is a little bit smaller, and I found some instructions on how you're supposed to hook it up, so we'll see how that goes. But everything fits nicely now. Our tack and speedo are in the proper positions. Things don't look bad at all. So this is so far so good. We'll see how it goes in as we move along and get everything hooked up. We got a few funky wires here. This is just some strange stuff. I'll have to make a harness for it to get it working, but I don't want to try and hook this up until the thing's running. Supposedly this is for a single cylinder. Now this KZ400, the points are on the crank, so every time the crank comes around we should get a spark, but it's hard to say what this tack does. There's just no paperwork on it, so we'll see if it works out or not. So I'm just using some 8mm bolts with a 5mm Allen head in it. Now that should get us through what we want to do here. We get it to start, and then once it starts we can then go on ahead and start putting together the headlight. And there it goes. Okay, so the headlight sits in a pretty good position, and we'll go on ahead and it clips in. It's kind of a strange thing. We'll see how that goes. We've got our headlight bucket basically in place. Everything is pretty well there. Turn on the key. And so we're going to give a right turn signal. Okay. And left turn signal. So things are looking pretty good. Headlight is done. There's a little bit of, I've got to maneuver around a little bit. I've still got some more wires to get up inside, so I really haven't bolted this thing in. I've got to build a harness for our tachometer. We'll see how that goes, and then we're going to see how many wires we can get inside. There doesn't seem to be a ton of room in there, but it looks like I might be able to get most of these wires inside. The one thing I do have to do is the turn signal indicator here I thought was shorted out. It's not. What it is they run the turn signal wire coming in, the straight 12 volts, and they run it to one side of a bulb, and then they take the other side turn signal, and run it to the other side of the bulb. And what that does is when you turn on the turn signal, the one that's flashing, it sends current through, and it goes through the other bulb through to get its ground. There's not enough current to turn on the other turn signal, so it works. But with these LED turn signals, there's plenty of current to turn on the other turn signal, so it looks like it's a short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wiring harness apart, and I'm going to put a couple diodes in there, and I'll draw that out on a whiteboard so you can see what I did. But what will happen is the gray wire and the green wire will both have a diode on them, and it will allow current to go one way but not back out. A diode will block. So I'll show you that. We'll do it on a whiteboard, and then we'll actually do the actual physical thing and then get this working up there. So anyway, that takes care of the headlight. So we're getting closer. Well, that should do it for this video. We've got a lot accomplished. We've got some wiring done. We've got some painting done. We got some grinding on the frame done. We got our headlight figured out. We got our taillight all wired in. We've got a few things done. So now we can just go on ahead and we'll finish up for now so we don't have too long a video, and then we will continue on with our assembly because we are going to be getting ready for paint and going to build a seat from scratch, which we have never done before, and that should be interesting. So we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe.